to episode 40 of the podcast. It's great to be back. And as always, thank you all for tuning in. And as I like to do, as up front, please share the show with a friend, relative, stranger, whoever. Just share the show. All right, so, I said this last week on the show. I said we was going to check in on goals. So my goal was to, start reading more, because that's something I've been wanting to do for a significant amount of time. Shout out to my boy Shaquan, because, he posted a book on his story, and I was like, yo, what do I need to do to improve my reading habits? And he was like, give me some tips. So did I meet my expectations? Nah, I feel like I could have done a little better, but I did do the right thing in making a little bit of time here and there to read. So, like, before bed the other night, I read a few pages. Read a few pages this morning. I'm just hoping that even taking those small baby steps, it'll get me to having overall great reading habits where I'm reading for at least, 10 to 20 minutes on a daily basis outside of different articles and things I come across. Because I do read a decent amount of articles. But yeah, I just want to start reading more books. Wellness check, because I don't think you had any goals last week you set for yourself for the week. Oh, you're supposed to call me, but you ain't do that and ask me about reading. Not a single time.
I did call you one time.
Not about reading?
I did ask you about that.
No, you didn't.
Okay.
What day? You didn't ask me about reading a single day this week.
Okay. All right.
Well, it's your wellness check window.
My wellness check is, like I said, my wellness check is to be grateful for even waking up every day. And like the day was one of them days, when it just seemed like I just woke up. And, one of the things that I wanted to talk about, this week that I was talking about was being grateful. And, the funny thing about it was I was tested this morning in every kind of way. Like I wake up.
Before you go too far
go ahead.
Just got to touch base.
You're right.
On some things that's going on this particular week. So a big story here in Philly has been we'll call it back and forth over the safe injection site. And that's something you mentioned, but they were planning on opening it like Broad and McKean at the Health Plaza that's right there. And city got in uproars, two sides. Some people are saying like, hey, we need this where, people can go get supervision on supervised doses of their heroin. And some people are like, no, we don't need this in our community. And it just, immediately, because I've been hearing about these things for a minute now, but I hadn't really taken too much, I haven't paid it too much attention. I wish I had in the past, but I'm just like, how's this going to work? Like, people go in there, they get a nurse or someone to dose them up, and then are they going right out into the street high? And then I'm like, realistically, how many people are going to always go there after they've been doing it? Like, I have a lot of questions that I need answers to, but just overall, I'm like, I don't know if it's I understand the concept behind it of, decreasing the number of overdoses, but at the same time, I'm just like, location is like smack dab in the middle of the city. And I just don't know. I just don't know. You got kids walking around, and then I just don't know if it's the right solution. I would almost rather, put more rehab centers out there. But then again, people got to voluntarily want to go there. So it's a lot of questions that need answers, in my opinion.
Well, first of all, at one time, they was going to put it up in Kensington. When I was in the halfway house up there, I even had to do community service in clean up, go around, sweep up streets. Like my, like, you know what? Like I'm tied up in that too because see, one thing you say, like, you know what, you could put this for people to go there, but how many people really gonna go there? For me coming and being on the streets and being around that and, even dealing in that kind of thing, people get their stuff and do it right then and there. I don't think people gonna get it and then go there to just do that. You may have some people that do that, but most people, you know what, when you get your stuff, you want to do it right then and there. So, I mean, I can't say it's gonna hurt. It can be helpful, but how many people gonna use what's there for them?
Yeah, and a thing that a fellow Penn alum, Ernest Owens, he's the man in the media world, especially in Philly, but even on a national scale. I've read a a piece he wrote, and I think it might have been Philly magazine. Hope I'm not messing it up, but the one of the points he was making is that the whole safe injection site being progressive and supporting that is really like another example of like white lives matter, because again you can go back to crack in the 80s when this stuff was a black issue. It was something we were criminalized for. It was definitely something we were scrutinized for and looked down upon, but not saying that the opioid crisis hasn't hit black people, because it has, but now that it's affecting a greater number of white people, people want to try to do something about it. So that's something I think is also interesting and sad at the same time.
Well, I think that you hit it right on the nose. See, when it was, you know what? It's always been around. I mean, I could remember when I was a child, it was around, but it wasn't just like that. Heroin has always been around. I didn't know how big it was until like now it just grown because, like you said, it affects other people, other communities, and other kids, rich people that got it now is affecting them, and they the ones. So now that's when they really want to do something about it.
Yeah.
They didn't, like you said, they didn't care when it was in the ghetto, when it was in the hood. They didn't really care. It didn't bother them. But you know what? When it hit home and their kids was coming to the ghetto and going to, and now it's infecting them. Now that's when they want to really do something about it.
Yeah. So I guess the next thing I wanted to highlight was you heard about Katherine Johnson passing. You're probably like, who's that?
Yeah, you're right.
Have you seen Hidden Figures? Probably not.
No.
That should be on your list of movies to catch up on. Katherine Johnson passed away on February 24th. She's a GOAT. All right. Just know she's a GOAT. So, Katherine Johnson worked for NASA back in the day, but she's the reason that we were able to get our first human space flight, because she was able to calculate the orbital mechanics that NASA needed. They had tried to send people into space before, because it was when we were racing against the Soviets. But, the first mission, rocket exploded. So the big thing is, like, they had to have confidence in sending someone up there and also bringing them back home. That was the big thing. And she did this at a time when, one, being a woman in science, right? It's like they're looked down on. They're not given the same respect. Then also she was a black woman, so she was even more marginalized. And so, in a time when people wouldn't give her the time of day, particularly white men working in a white male-dominated space, she had the answer, right? And that takes courage, because when you are in, I can only try to empathize, but when you're in a situation where you feel like no one wants to give you the time of day, they don't respect the things you have to say, they don't expect much of you, you're just kind of like the help, so to speak. Now, Katherine Johnson was the answer, right? Like, because of her, the U.S. was able to make a great stride and inevitably reach a new milestone for their entire nation. So, you know, even though I only kind of knew her story or knew of her through Taraji P. Henson and Hidden Figures, I mean, it's very inspiring for me because I know that, you know, when I'm faced with a situation, it can't be half as tough as what she had to go through, right? So it's like if I need to find a solution to something, I just got to figure it out because the same hurdles and hardships aren't stacked against me as they were with her. So she's someone I kind of just got to keep in my mind as motivation for when the going gets tough. But you know, rest in peace to her. She definitely is a black queen and should always be remembered for the rest of our lives and for the rest of time, really. So that was a big one. And then the last thing that happened this week, it's kind of funny, a little lighter note. James Harden and Giannis, see their back and forth.
I heard a little bit about that, but not, I didn't really get it.
Yo, you gotta stop living under a rock, man.
It's not that I live under a rock. It's just that like a lot of times, like some of the stuff in basketball or stuff like that, like it's just like I talk about basketball, or we talk about, like, I was in discussion with a guy that when I was at work the other day, we was talking about how different basketball is today. But go ahead and a little bit about that, and I'll just talk a little bit about that in a couple minutes. But you want to say something about James Harden and him?
Yeah. So during the All-Star game team selection between LeBron and Giannis, Charles Barkley, said to Giannis, like, oh, you don't want the dribbler, because Giannis said he was choosing between Trae Young and Kemba, and Harden was still on the board, I guess. And Giannis goes, I want someone that's going to pass the ball, just jokingly. And so Harden was recently asked about, what he thought about that comment. And he was like, well, I wish I was 7 feet tall and super athletic and could just dunk the ball. But Harden said he actually, that takes no skill. He said he actually has to learn skill among other illegal moves, but I'll leave that off the record. He said he has to really learn the skill of the game because he isn't as athletic or as big as some of these other players, particularly Giannis. So they got a little back-to-back. Giannis did come out and say, like, yo, there's no beef between him and James. But James definitely seemed more serious compared to how Giannis seemed lighthearted. And I don't think James actually saw the clip of when Giannis said it, so he probably didn't get the more of the part. Context, or pick up on the joking part of it. But it is what it is. It just makes those videos of, like, when James Harden is ducking after Giannis shoots an air ball, or when Giannis tries to throw the pass and it nails James Harden right in the head, it makes those videos a little bit more funny. But yeah, so that's you didn't see that back and forth at all?
No, I didn't see that.
All right. It's all good. So now I'll give you the floor.
You give me the floor?
Yeah, the spotlight's shifted.
Really? No, what I was coming into, like I was just talking about, some things to be grateful for. Like, and sometimes to be grateful when things isn't going like you want them to go, or things just happen. What do you do? And like before, like in life, it was funny because what the first thing I would do when I wake up a day like today, I would go get high. I would go do something like that, just take my mind away from something. But I learned today just to have some gratitude, just to be thankful for, having another day, waking up today. And that's, and it's funny because I'm thinking about this all during the week, and this morning I was tested with what I ate. And like, what? I'm grateful to come here, even though I know the way that you felt this morning. But you know what? I'm so glad to have you in my life, or to be there. And like one of the things, like it's just so important because, like, you know what? Now I'm not gonna do none of them things. I can smile. I can be happy this morning. And that's beautiful for me, man. Because I don't ever want to go back down the road that I used to go, and I learned this new thing about being with gratitude. I really do. So, and like just to wake up this morning and to thank my God for allowing me to have another day is so beautiful, man. Like the day, like you know what, and I don't always have to smile on the outside. It comes from within. So that's the good thing. And like, you know what, I know that I'm gonna make it through this day. My day is getting better. Like even though like my health or something like that, you know what, I'm thankful that I'm able to get around to make it, because like, you know what, when I look around or I have some friends that's not fortunate as me, you know, it just like what I'm just saying. It's just so good, and like for my family, I'm so grateful for y'all, my kids. That's my life, man. That's what keeps me motivated, keep me going. And my things can be like a little bit better at times, but you know what? I'm so, like I said, I'm so happy with that kind of stuff today. When I talk about, I got a roof over my head, a house with heat. It's just some things that, like, you know what, when you walk around the city, or when I go to work in the morning, or in the catching the sub, you got people that sleep in the subway. I got reasons to really be grateful and really enjoy life, even when sometimes like that. It's just so good. To have a job, to be able to feed myself. It's so many things that we can be grateful for and thankful for, man. Like, and like, I know we touched on something like this before, but you know what? This is something that we need to do every day. Not even just every day, throughout the day. Because you know what? Things come up. Things may come up to try to tear us down. you know and one of the things too that, like, I really enjoy is freedom, because when I was incarcerated, um, you know what, I didn't really have the freedom. And that's a big thing for me too, when you talk about freedom. Like, you know what, um, today I'm so grateful for freedom, because I never, I always knew that I was free, but when I say I went to incarceration, I wasn't free. And even in my, when we talk about freedom, like, and I talk about freedom like a lot more, because, see, because like now, I always thought I was free, but I wasn't free. I was slaves to a lot of things. Like the drugs, to want to live a certain lifestyle. So I really wasn't free in my mind. But like, me being incarcerated really freed me and taught me a lot of things about that. Because the day I tried to be free. Like when I was in jail, I had to eat what they want me to eat. I had to, like, go to bed when at a certain time. I had to come out at a certain time. I didn't have that. Today, I can appreciate freedom like so much more. Like, like like a lot of some people will really know what I'm talking about. You may not really understand, because you know what, you free. You can buy and eat what you want to eat. You can do this. The lights don't go out a certain time. You could turn your own lights out. At times, you had to do what they tell you to do. So today, I appreciate my freedom so much more. And the thing was, if not just being free from that, being free from some of my old thinking, and relieving that. man, like I'm just so like I mean like this like I'm saying to be gratitude and be thankful, man. And even when I talk about that, it's so good about like the hard times in the life, man, because now I'm just really learning and I'm really like I'm saying that the hard times is making it so like now it's giving me some of the freedom. I'm understanding a lot more of this, man. I'm like I said, like earlier, when I was touching up, like you know what, I'm using today what I learned. Because like I'm saying, waking up this morning, even before I talked to you this morning, um, I was going through something, and like you know what, like the gratitude of life, gratitude of my family, the things that I'm naming, got me through that. And like today, I'm starting to feel good. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be here sitting next to you to do this episode because, like, you know what? When I look forward to doing that, man, I started feeling good because I woke up down. I woke up, like it wasn't a wake up. It's like when you want to go back to bed and get up again and hope that it be different. But you know what? The way to get through it, this is the way to get through it, you know. Um, um, I don't know. You have anything like what I was saying about?
Yeah, no, I think it's true. You know, I guess I can contribute this story to two people, Coach Dev and then girlfriend Devin. Um, Coach Dev used to always say kind of life is about angles, and that's something that I try to carry every day, especially when I'm in a tough situation. And then whenever you're kind of going through something difficult or, you kind of have that negative outlook on life, Devin used to always make me kind of just think of three things that are going well. So a few weeks ago, car wouldn't start. I had came out of um, internship program for my high schoolers that I work with. Shout out to May and Jeremy. They're doing a lot of behind the scenes work for the show right now. So big shout out to them because sometimes it's a lot on the boys' back. But I came out of internship, trying to go home, and car wouldn't start. I'm like, man, I just got a new battery. Like, why isn't this thing starting? So then, calling my mom. Like, I think I need a jump. So she comes. I pull her car. I had to pull it up on the pavement. And then I go in the trunk, get my jumping cables. Jumper cables too short. And I'm just like, Now I got to get the car off the pavement, back it onto the pavement so that the batteries can be closer together. I got that thing trying to charge up for like 15 minutes. Nothing's happening. So then I'm just like, man. It's like, what is this going to cost me? Because I've refused. I got to ride that car out. Like, I'm under 70,000 miles still on a 2004. Pay like $82 a month for insurance. So I'm like, man, I don't want no car note. I want a car with some bells and whistles, but I don't want to pay for it right now if I don't have to. Invest that money in some other places. But I'm like, man, this isn't working. So then Mr. David gave me a call, had his cousin. He's like, yeah, they think it's a starter. He's like, I'll be able to meet you down there tomorrow. Just go get the starter before. And I'm just like, how much is a starter going to cost me? But it was like, all right, whatever. But, even when I went home that day, I wasn't even really that stressed. Like Devin was like, it's gonna be alright. I'm like, yeah, I know. I ain't even worrying about it because one, I just started thinking about all the positives. That day, I drove into work. I drove into the office, right? Parked in a garage downtown. What if the car didn't start when it was in that garage downtown? Might have had some other problems because I still would have had to just leave it there, go to internship on time. But after a certain time, you lose that early bird special. You got to have it out of there by like 6. So I'm like, it didn't get stuck in a place that was going to cost me even more money. It got me through the entire basketball season. I never was late to practice or a game because of the car, right? I was able to call my mom. She was able to come there, give me a ride home, give me a jump. Mr. David's cousin was able to meet me at the car the next day. It was parked in the spot where I didn't have to worry about it being there for a certain period of time, picking up tickets. I didn't have to pay to get it towed anywhere, so it was all these positives. So where I could have easily looked at like, oh man, it's not starting. Now I got to come back down here tomorrow. I got to pay to get it fixed. First of all, I got the means to pay to get it fixed, right? So there's all these positives there, and so I just had to be grateful for those things, and that helped me just be like, all right, just got to roll with this thing and keep it moving. But it really helped me not get too down, too frustrated, and it didn't ruin my day. All because, I was grateful for everything that was going right in that situation. So I think that's huge.
Well, that's what I was just saying. Like sometimes when we talk about the hard times, and like when we can reflect on, see, like the hard times, like I say, taught me to get through this. I go through a time. You know what was one of my worst times? Well, one of my worst times was first going to jail. But one of the worst things was, you know what? I remember when you first had to come see me in jail. I remember when Brianna was there. But one of the hardest times was when Kiera and Kai got taken and I was in jail and I couldn't do nothing. That was one of the hard times and something that really broke me down. But I got to give thanks to God, man, because you know what? He taught me the way. And like I never got that way until then. Like, I remember running into somebody else's cell, man. And when my kids, because I was just so wet. But you know what? Then I started, remembering what I've been learning. And learning to just stay positive. And just to be thankful, man. You know what? And everything worked out. Everything worked out. Just like this summer, you allowing the kids to come be with me and stay the summer, man. You know how huge that was? To losing them. And like I'm saying, I just kept that and just kept thinking about the positive things and things to be grateful. And even though they're away, and like you said, Kiera down there promoting the podcast and stuff like that. So, it's still doing good. Like, she calls all the time. I'm telling you, gratitude, man.
Yeah, there's a lot to be grateful for.
You know.
So, everyone listening in this next week, especially when you're done listening to this episode, and especially if you're having a bad day, just think of 3 positives in your life right now, and I guarantee you're going to start to feel a little bit better. But just from this day forward, just whenever you're in a situation where you feel down and out, or you feel like giving up, the road's getting tough, you like, man, I've had 7 bad days in a row, feel like it's going to be 8, just start thinking of the things that's going well. Like the fact that you're still on the earth, living and breathing, that's a start. That's one thing to look at. You're still here, you can still press on, and just remember sometimes you're going through what you're going through for a reason, make you stronger. It's like when you're lifting weights, you got to pit your muscles under stress. You got to literally destroy them so that they can get stronger. Sometimes that's what life does to us. It feels like we're being destroyed, but you're only going to come out of that thing stronger. And I just always try to remember, tough times don't last, tough people do. And I just try to remain a tough person. But in order to do that, sometimes there's other little things you got to do in between it. And a big thing for me typically is trying to think of the things that are going well that I should actually be grateful for. And, I just thank God for it in that moment. And I really try to focus on that. And that gets me through a lot of tough times. So, let that be your tip going forward for the week.
You know what? You just took me back to let him rest in peace. Joe Redden, my coach. It was funny because, you know what? You could have a terrible game. I remember sometimes we used to lose. And like, you know what? He always used to say, "It's tomorrow. You got tomorrow, another chance to get it right." But you know what? One thing I like to do, I want to take it back to, like I said, this morning I woke up, and I haven't woke up like I woke up this morning in a long time. But you know what? I ain't waiting till tomorrow. You know what? I get right to the point right now and start thinking of what I got gratitude for. Because, like, you know what? I know what me being down used to do, and if I would wait till tomorrow, tomorrow I might have pushed it to the next day. I need to sometimes take things moment by moment. And see, before I didn't do that. Like, I could say tomorrow, like, like that I'm gonna make it better. Tomorrow I'm gonna wake up and it's gonna be a better day. So I'm gonna go do what I'm gonna do today. I'm gonna do this. But no, you know what? I don't want to wait. I want to start feeling better right today. And I'm glad that it was time for us to tape this, because, like, I'm telling you, even before that, I just woke up with an attitude, and I'm glad that, you know what, gratitude was the subject today for me, because, like, I needed it.
Good. So you wanna sign us out?
Sign us out. Well, what do you want me to say? That we thanks for tuning in, and he laughing. See, you know what? My son was probably mad at me today too, y'all. I gotta say this too, but you know what? He just had a smile because he know that he some kind of way he gonna come out of it too.
You gonna finish?
Huh? Well, you know what? You gotta tell them where they can find us at.
No, that's what
I
you
can't.
doing.
I can't get that right. Not that I can't get it right, but my son is really, when I was talking about that too, and another thing that I got gratitude, like when I say about my kids, they hold me accountable, especially this guy sitting right next to me. And I gotta love him, and I know sometimes I make him harder, but you know what? He keeps me right. But like I said, you can find us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, Stitchers, Pot Bear?
Sorry.
Huh?
Podbean.
Podbean. Okay. And please give us a 5-star review.
Good job.
Well, see, like I said, like, you know what? This morning wasn't great for me, but you know what? When you got people in your life that hold you accountable and have ways of getting to you, like, I just like to say that, and thanks for tuning in today. And like I said, just touch one person and have one person have another person. Just tune in for us. And I just like to say, in closing, God bless.
All right. See y'all same time, same place next week. Have a great week, and remember, stay grateful.